In the vast, unforgiving Rockies, one man vanished without a trace. Mark Fisher, a seasoned hiker, set out on what should have been an ordinary adventure. But when the search began, only one thing was found: his bloodied watch. No sign of struggle, no body, just that watch, stained with blood, lying silently in the wilderness. What happened to Mark Fisher? Was it an accident, or was there something far darker hidden in those mountains? The more the investigation unfolded, the more questions arose, and with each clue, the mystery deepened. Mark's disappearance became something far more sinister, with the truth still out of reach. Stay tuned as we uncover the chilling details. This is Mind Unfolded. Mark Fisher was no stranger to the outdoors. With a passion for adventure, he had trekked through some of the toughest terrain across the country. In October 2017, he set out on a solo hike in the Rockies, confident and prepared for the journey ahead. It was meant to be a short, 3-day hike. He told his family and friends he'd be back soon, but when the days passed, no word came. Mark never returned. What started as a routine hike quickly turned into an unsettling mystery. The Rockies, vast and wild, had swallowed him whole. No signs of where he went, no clues as to what happened. The search teams, combing through the rugged terrain, could find nothing. A simple trip had become something more menace, and the questions started piling up. Something went horribly wrong in those mountains, with dark forces possibly at play, waiting for Mark. The truth is buried deep in the shadows. Search for Mark began as a standard rescue mission. Search teams, volunteers, and experts scoured the dense forests and rocky cliffs, combing every inch of the mountain. Helicopters flew overhead, scanning the wilderness below. But as the hours turned into days, hope of finding Mark alive began to fade. He was entirely lost within the vast expanse of the Rocky Mountains, leaving nothing behind but the wilderness. Just when it seemed like the situation couldn't get worse, an unsettling breakthrough came. A bloodied watch was found, but it wasn't a random watch. It was Mark's, lying alone in the vast expanse. The question immediately arose: why was it left so far from his trail? There were no signs of a struggle, no clues nearby. Just this single, haunting object, seemingly dropped in a moment of finality. Mark's whereabouts remained a mystery. The bloodied watch hinted at his fate, and other disturbing clues would soon surface. Roughly a mile from where Mark was last seen, the watch was discovered, half buried under a thin layer of pine needles, as if someone had tried to hide it, but not very well. The metal was scratched, the face cracked, and most chilling of all, time had frozen, literally. The hands were stuck at 4:17 p.m. Traces of blood clung to the edges of the band. It wasn't old and oxidized, but dark and slightly tacky, like it hadn't been there long. Lab analysis later confirmed it was human. It matched Mark's blood type, but the area around it, untouched. No signs of a struggle, no broken branches or torn clothing nearby, no drag marks. Even the soil was oddly undisturbed, just the watch lying in silence, like it had been set there with intention. Who or what had left it there? Some believe Mark had tried to leave a message, his final attempt to say, "I was here." Others thought the watch was deliberately planted, a warning or a calculated misdirection. The spot where it was found was off-trail, hidden behind a dense thicket that would have been nearly impossible to reach without cutting through. It wasn't lost by accident, it was placed, and perhaps not by Mark. As investigators sifted through the evidence, it became clear this wasn't a typical missing hiker case. A misstep off a ledge? Unlikely. Mark was experienced and cautious. An animal attack? There were no torn clothes, no drag marks, no signs of blood beyond the watch. More ominous theories began to take shape. Had Mark stumbled onto something he wasn't meant to see? Was someone else lurking in those woods that day watching? Locals whispered in low tones. This wasn't the first time someone had disappeared. Over the years, a handful of hikers had gone missing in the same region. their stories fading into half-remembered warnings. Some reported hearing strange echoes late at night, as if voices were repeating words from far away. Others had seen distant lights flickering through the trees, lights that moved against the wind, not like lanterns or flashlights. One veteran ranger, who'd worked the trails for over 2 decades, described the area as off, like the forest was holding its breath, watching, waiting. Then came the most chilling theory of all. Mark had seen something he wasn't supposed to, and someone, human or not, had made sure he couldn't talk about it. 5 days into the search, a chilling clue emerged. A faint trail of blood stretching across the rocks, weaving through narrow crevices and over sun-bleached stone. It wasn't random. Each drop seemed deliberate, narrow and consistent, like someone was carefully trying to leave a message without wasting a step. Rescuers followed it in silence, tension rising with every foot of terrain covered. Then, abruptly, it stopped. No signs of a collapse, no body, just silence. Like someone had pressed pause on reality itself. The trail led nowhere. Or maybe it led somewhere we're not meant to find. What made it worse was what wasn't there. The path was clean, too clean, eerily calm. It was as if Mark had been walking with purpose until he simply wasn't anymore. One searcher later said, "It felt like following someone into a dream and waking up before you find the end." It was almost like Mark had vanished mid-step, or like something had been watching and chose the perfect moment to erase him. As more time passed, a new layer unfolded. Near a clearing surrounded by unnaturally silent trees, a weathered map was discovered beneath a pile of carefully stacked stones, almost like a makeshift marker or an intentional cache. The map was old, creased, and stained, with strange notations scribbled in the margins. Mark hadn't owned a map like this, and yet it pointed to a remote spot deep within the forest, a place locals never spoke of and hunters deliberately avoided. The location was circled in red, labeled with initials that didn't match any known landmarks. It wasn't on official park records. It didn't appear on satellite images. Rumors flew, secret operations, abandoned government projects, hidden entrances cut into rock walls, shadowy figures seen at dawn, moving silently through the mist. Some spoke of low hums in the air at night, as if machines were buried beneath the ground. The absence of evidence began to look deliberate. Trails cleaned, signals scrambled. People who asked too many questions suddenly stopped talking. Perhaps Mark didn't just get lost. Perhaps he was silenced. Months after the case went cold, a hiker found Mark's boots, caked in dried blood, tucked beneath a pile of rocks in a remote crevice. Nearby, a torn strip of fabric clung to stone like a warning. The blood wasn't just Mark's. Forensics found a second DNA profile, unidentified. But the real twist, soil under the boots contained trace elements not native to the Rockies, but linked to a military testing ground 600 miles away. Someone moved him, or something did. And the watch found earlier, it had stopped exactly at 4:17 p.m., the same minute a security camera near that test site glitched for the first time in years. Mark wasn't alone. Files now showed at least 6 hikers had vanished within a 10-mile radius. Over decades, same pattern, no bodies, no gear, just gone. Locals whispered of vanishing trails and compasses that spun aimlessly. One hunter swore he saw a figure in the woods. When he called out, the figure turned, wearing someone else's face. Weeks later, a locked trail camera snapped one final image before its batteries were drained. A man standing in the clearing, barefoot, bloody, and wearing Mark Fisher's jacket. The timestamp? 3 days ago, and Mark Fisher was declared dead 2 years ago. Mark Fisher didn't just vanish, he unraveled. A bloodied watch, a trail that ended mid-step, a hidden map he never owned, boots stashed under stone. None of it felt random. Every clue seemed left with purpose, or planted. The deeper the case went, the more it twisted. Classified files, scrambled signals, unmarked paths. Locals stopped talking, Rangers stopped going near that side of the range. Then came the final whisper, a blurred image from an old trail cam. A man, barefoot, expressionless, standing just at the tree line. Same height, same coat, but something inhuman behind the eyes. The photo disappeared. So did the ranger who found it. Now, even whispers are rare. People pretend Mark never existed, but stories still slip through, of compasses spinning, of voices calling through static, of eyes watching from the fog. The official report says unsolved, but the mountain knows. It always knows, and it never forgets. If this mystery has you questioning everything, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more spine-chilling stories you won't want to miss. Until next time, this is Mind Unfolded.